an encore career. But I'm a former attorney and was a chief counsel to a Democratic congressman back in the day and ran public policy and government relations for AOL, the internet company, and then did executive coaching for many years. And after COVID, I said, I want to do something. And I decided to go back to school and get involved with dispute resolution. And it's been an incredible journey for me. And I'm exactly where I need to be right now at this time on this planet in our world around us. So I joined SCMA, got on the outreach committee. We're the ones that produce this mediation week. And I decided to invite three really, really qualified people that are far more experienced and seasoned than I am. I'm just going to be guiding this today. And we'll introduce them in a minute. Let me take you through, though, what's going on today. There are about 50 to 60 of you. We appreciate you being on here and taking your time out. Some of you are mediators and members of the SCMA. Some of you are citizens here in the LA area or elsewhere, and we appreciate you joining. This is really directed for you. And others might just be curious about maybe becoming a mediator, or maybe you are one and you'd like to get involved with some of these programs. Here's what we're going to try to do today is take you through just some of the offerings here in Southern California. When I wrote up this thing, I said that we live in a land of plenty. And what I meant by that, there's plenty of conflict. We know that. There's plenty of people butting heads in every direction. A lot going on around here. But there are enormous opportunities and services and offerings within Southern California, particularly within LA County, that we can all draw upon. All right, to resolve disputes. So today we're going to take you through some of those programs, have them explain what the services are, what they do, and in the process kind of educate you as well about what is mediation. This is, after all, Mediation Awareness Week, and we just started, it happens every year, and we're just letting, there's a lot going on. So we have our week, not a month, but Mediation Awareness Week here in California, just to kind of highlight what we do. So I'm going to take people around. I'm also going to post in the chat right in a minute here. In fact, I'm going to do it real quick if I can. I wanted to do this before I forget, so bear with me, everybody. I'm just going to put in here the bios and stuff for everybody, because it's all in the stuff when you registered, and rather than spending a ton of time on people's bios, I'm just going to post that right now in the let me see, how can I do this? I want to have this, everybody bear with me, I apologize. Well, I'm going to try to post this in the chat. I'm going to let you, Taisha, if you can, send it around, because I don't know if it's going to go to everybody. But if you want more information on people, okay, that will be in the chat for you. And Taisha, if you could post that link in the chat, that would be terrific. Let me go around and introduce the people we have here. We're going to start. First, we have in Italy. She reminds me, it rhymes with Italy, so it's Italy. Cesna. And it's great. I love it. When she said that, I had it down. So Italy and I have gotten to know each other. She's also a Strauss Institute alumnus with her LLM, and is building has had a whole life as an attorney, and then got into leadership coaching, and very excellent a person doing that, and then moved more into conflict resolution, and they kind of start to come together. We're going to talk to Italy about some things in a minute. Chris Welch is the head of is executive director for the Center for Conflict Resolution, and he's going to explain to you, that's an organization that's been around a long time, and he's headed it for a long time, and they provide all kinds of mediation ADR services with the LA County Superior Court system. It's a big deal. I've been plugged into it. Others here have. It's really amazing. So he's going to go through that. Thank you so much, Taisha, for doing that. So you'll see in the chat just the panelist bios, because they're amazing. Actually, if you read everybody's, particularly not mine so much, but everybody else's, they're really, this is a distinguished panel. It really is. These are people that have been involved with these issues around here for a long time, from all kinds of angles, okay? And then Aaron Lark Stanford, and he has a great, I love this, I gotta say it out loud. You are the Program Director, Arts, Arbitration and Mediation Services and Arbitration Administrator for California Lawyers for the Arts. And I'm just going to call you Aaron, okay? But you'll explain what's going on there. So let's take a minute and go around. What we're going to do is just for a few minutes here, just kind of take people through these different programs. I'm going to have everybody, the three people here, kind of explain how they got involved in this field, what to them, what gets them up every morning, why they're so passionate about this. We all donate our time a lot. We give, you'll find people in conflict resolution and the mediation space. We volunteer a lot. We give a lot. We serve a lot. It's our orientation. Now, some will say, well, because they don't pay. No, people pay. But we start out by giving. That's our nature. We give. We are of service. It's the most amazing group I've ever met. And over time, people make money, some more than others. But we're driven by the same kind of set of values, which is we want to help empower people, teach people how to embrace conflict, not be afraid of it, and how to be empowered to resolve conflict, that we each have that power to do that. It's a really cool feeling. So I'm just proud. Some people are lawyers, some are litigators, some have never been a lawyer. Some wouldn't come near a lawyer, but they're mediators. So it's kind of fun. We all work together. And more than ever, that's critical. Hey, Chris, why don't you tell us a bit about, first of all, thank you for being here. I have a lot of respect for you. You're an alumnus also of the Strauss Institute at Pepperdine Law School, and you received your Master of Dispute Resolution MDR degree here, and you are, I believe, a non-lawyer who is really immersed in a big way in the mediation world here in Southern California and now at the state bar level. You can talk about that a bit. Why don't you just explain a bit, Chris? First of all, thanks for being here, and also, what do you guys do? Tell me about this Center for Conflict Resolution, the contract that you have with LA County Superior Court. What kind of services are available?
Well, absolutely. Thank you so much, Will. Thank you so much for. It's really a pleasure to be on here with Inali and Aaron as well. The individuals that I have the utmost respect for, you the same, Will, but really I do. And it's one of our, this is a tight-knit community. Generally, our community is tight-knit, that we all know each other and we all look to either even work with our programs and do other things that are of that engagement. And that work, when it comes to the work the Center for Conflict Resolution provides, is that we do have. Our contract is with actually the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs through the Dispute Resolution Programs Act. And we provide a contract, though, of services to the Los Angeles Superior Court, small claims, civil harassment, and some unlawful detainer cases that we provide to roughly 14, now potentially 15 different courthouses. And this is like in-person services at different courthouses. So LA County, as we all know, is its own state. I mean, it's huge. It's massive in its ability to manage that and to try to look into that. And so our organization is kind of tasked with both community mediation cases that come in, but also those providing those services to the court directly itself. And we have those partnerships with various universities, Pepperdine, USC, potentially, Cal State Dominguez Hills, and others that we might be engaging in for both the educational component of providing that opportunity, as well as the opportunity of kind of service and volunteers that have been provided for it. So yeah, I'm on my 21st or 21st year with the Center for Conflict Resolution, and it's been something that I've engaged with and kind of just seen. I've understood its value within the community, and I've held to keep it, keep that ability to provide these services throughout the court in our community, and still believe in it wholeheartedly, what mediation can provide to our in general, to both Los Angeles and beyond.
So let me do this from a couple angles, Chris, real quick. One is that I came into my awareness of you guys because like I said, I'm doing this 26 credit Master of Laws degree. If you have a law degree, you can get a Master of Laws. It's a separate degree, but it was a way of focusing on dispute resolution. And within this, we have our mediation clinic here at Pepperdine, like other universities do. And part of that is we get to go to court then and actually, so observe and then eventually start doing actual mediations. It was really a valuable experience. You guys have great mediators. I've gotten to know a few of them, and also been doing some of the civil harassment stuff. So, and it was really valuable. And what I learned was this: you're right. We have 10 million people in LA County. It's twice the size of Ireland. No, it's the population of the size of Ireland. That's what it is. So a county the size of Ireland in terms of, it's mind blowing. And the system here, we hear all we do about bureaucracy and government and this and that, but the bottom line is LA County, at least my experience, Superior Court system runs pretty well. And there's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of really dedicated people. And you guys are critical to this because the judges, the clerks there always speak about that we provide a really viable service. So what happens, right, Chris, is somebody will file a small claims action. or a civil harassment. And then tell me kind of just briefly, the process of where your folks kick in the
Sure,
system.
absolutely. So I think that there's a few points where they might have the engagement with our organization or our
Right,
mediation process.
right.
For those in small claims, they have an engagement that happens early of given the option of online dispute resolution. And if they choose that option, our mediation services are available for them prior to them ever showing up to the court. And so that's one area where they can engage in our organization through the court system. Now, for small claims, that would be the model currently set up is that we actually have people present on the day of the hearing to give an alternative to the judicial process. That alternative being that ability to have a discussion, to communicate, to try and see if there's a resolution of their dispute before having it adjudicated. You know, before having somebody else determine that outcome, that they could potentially have some engagement in that outcome themselves. I think that's extremely critical also in the civil harassment environment where individuals are neighbors. They're people that have these conflicts that are keep brewing, that we're able to have a moment in time before there is a restraining order placed on someone or not,
Exactly.
to talk it out and to see if there's a possibility of resolution. And I think those effectively go back into the community as resolutions that hopefully can help temper flames and create moments that go back into their areas. And so these are things that we have in person. We are always trying to explore our deliverable of service in the new environment that we have at all times, right? And so there's challenges that we face, but it is it's not generally, it is an honor to be even present in that space and to try to deliver services in a way for that work. But the critical pieces too, and that you'll hear from Aaron on, and also Italy, are those community mediation pieces that are before anyone ever gets to that adjudicated space of court. And that ability to try and resolve those before they even get to that space is so valuable. And our community has a lot of incredible individuals that are working in this mediation space for those that generally either can't afford or they're lower costs in our services that we provide.
Right. In the case, Chris, of you guys, right? It's all because there's a contract, it's provided for already. So it's a free service to citizens who come to at least to the court system, right?
Through our court connected programs that
Yeah.
services gratis at this time. And so that, yes,
Yeah,
that's
right.
absolutely
Which is
true.
a really
So
nice benefit to people. And what I've noticed is people are sitting there, they're there for their day in court. It's been fun to observe this. It's really interesting, actually. And then we have a chance, the mediators get to stand up before things get cooking in the morning and say, hey, here's what we offer. And I just say to people, what would it feel like to sit down with the other side in this case, across the table privately with a neutral person facilitating a conversation? What would that feel like? Some people don't want it, they don't want anything to do with it. Others are like, I've experienced some amazing things happen. People hugging, tears. It doesn't mean it has to be that way, but I was involved with the civil harassment with Ava, your colleague, where two moms who'd lived in the same neighborhood for a long time. It was a neighbor to neighbor dispute going on. It got really bad. Zoom cameras is out of control. But what we realized is these two women had been friends for 25 years in the neighborhood and used to have coffee together. And so we got them back to that state of mind, and it was really powerful. Instead of having, like you said, a restraining order put on somebody that would have, really altered their civil rights. So again, these are real life things happening. And there was this aha moment. I watched it because the tears kind of started to. It's like I said, didn't you guys used to have coffee together? I mean, what happened to that? And all of a sudden they realize like you have power within your neighborhood to affect the whole energy. If you two strong women get together and have coffee again on that front porch, it would change everything. And then they started to see that. It was really a cool experience. And all this amazing. All right.
yes.
And we'll come back to some more of this. What gets you up, Chris? I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You could be doing all kinds of other things, I'm sure, with your great background and all the other skill sets you have. And by the way, thank you for saying you respect me. I appreciate that. But like, what keeps you up in the morning? 21 years of this. It's a lot of conflict. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of reporting and stuff you got to do for these contracts.
Yeah, I mean that's a wonderful question. I mean, I started seventh grade. I started this as a peer mediator, right? I got the bug
Um,
early, and I think that I
wow.
landed in I landed at Pepperdine, where they happened to have the best program, at the time in the country, and I was
Yeah.
able to land in that space as well. And kind of, I've just seen it as, the mediator, the peacemaker, trying to, see that within the community of, like, just generally of Los Angeles. I think that it allows others the space. If you can find alternatives or you can resolve conflict in spaces, it provides the community the space to be creative. It provides the community the
Hmm.
space to engage even further and create and be one of the greatest, cities in the world, right? Like, and so it's these little things that we do as, individuals in the just kind of at different areas. It allows potential just community growth and other things of that nature. And there are difficult structure things that are coming on all ways, but this is something that I just it's still just a passion. It's a passion to continue to provide this. And I think that
I love that.
it drives through some of the other moments that aren't as easy. So,
I appreciate that a lot. There's an energy around it. When I was on the playground as a kid and all through school, even like, I don't know, I always was the one that kind of either helped. I'm not trying to be like, getting people's stuff, but I would be the one that people would come to talk to, or in my dorm, in college, I don't know, people would show up and just start talking. And really what a lot of it was about is I felt, and somewhat in my own childhood too, I was kind of a mediator, if you will, sometimes. And I'm not all woo-woo about this. Conflict happens. It's normal. It's part of life. We learn to embrace it, but we also need to learn and realize and feel the power that we can be empowered to resolve our conflict. And so much of this, we live in a society, as you know, for lots of reasons, it's all kinds of stuff. And I'm a former lawyer. I always say I'm a recovering lawyer who was a litigator, but there are different kinds of law. But look, we always have that right to litigation. It's very important. It's a critical right. It serves its purpose in a lot of contexts, as we're seeing throughout the country, but it's very expensive. It's very divisive. It takes a very long time. And there are steps before that. 96%, you can correct me if I'm wrong, of all lawsuits in this country get settled before trial. That percentage has not changed. It's been like that for decades. Law schools have to teach trial skills and all that. We have to do that. We're a nation of laws and rules of evidence and all that stuff. But there are steps before that. And any good lawyer today will say, yes, you could litigate your case, but here are some other things you could do short of that. And that's where we come in. Really, alternative dispute resolution. It can be arbitration, it can be negotiation. In this case, we're talking mediation. And mediation really, and Aaron, I'm going to come to you now. Mediation is really where people basically where we wrap two people or some parties in a safe blanket, if you will, where they can have the safety and feel comfortable talking through their issues if they're willing to. They got to want to do it, and it's voluntary, it's confidential. And all we do is guide that process. We're not pushing toward an outcome here, but eventually, typically they do. They get to a resolution. And in the case of like in your thing, Chris, then that becomes a judgment entered in the court, and it's fun to watch it. Aaron, you've had a great background in this field. You're one of the leaders in our profession here, obviously, and involved with SCMA, and you have a long title. And you do like so. And I want to understand, what does your organization do? Tell me what's offered by you, and then also what drives you every morning.
Sure. Thank you, Will. And yes, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here with this panel. So thank you. Yeah, so California Lawyers for the Arts has been around for, gosh, I guess this will be our 51st year, and we've been serving the arts and creative community different ways. We see the nexus of arts and the law, and for a lot of artists, business and the law is not their forte, and they're
Right.
ripe for being taken advantage of. And so this organization was created as a resource for them. About I think 40 years ago or so, the mediation program was created. We have different offices around the state. The first office, I believe, was in San Francisco. And so the mediation program was started there maybe 45 years ago. And then in the Los Angeles office, it was created, I think, around the time of the Dispute Resolution Programs Act, or DERPA. Like the Center for Conflict Resolution, we are we are one of those programs. We offer community mediation services to all of Los Angeles County and to all of Southern California, at least our office. Um, so yeah, we're
Do you have to be a creative, Aaron, or do you need to be in the so-called arts community to take advantage of your services, or can anybody who has an issue
anyone.
approach you guys?
Anyone. As a DERPA, provider, we serve the entire community. So we could say that we specialize in arts and entertainment related cases, but really, I mean, the disputes that we mediate run the gamut. I tell people we pretty much mediate anything except for divorce and family law matters. But
But just throw out, Aaron, real quick, just like rapid fire, give me a list of some of those things other than family stuff that you guys deal with, because it's sort of similar for Chris. I think when people file small claims, depending what it's about, I think people don't realize like just about everything can be mediated. Go ahead, Aaron, just a couple of quick examples.
Sure. I mean, we have neighbor disputes, we have landlord tenant disputes, we have consumer merchant disputes, we have business disputes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of conflict out there, and we're doing what we can to help people.
I also noticed on the website, it's a big organization. There's a lot of people involved, and you do a lot of programming, especially in today's world with AI and other all kinds of issues that can affect artists, people in the creative world. We know that, and obviously that's a sector that's just changing dramatically, and the power imbalances are there in a lot of ways. And you're right, people don't necessarily, they can be taken advantage of or whatever. But especially as we're into more of a creative, ongoing, ever-changing world. What drove you, Aaron, into this? Again, you're one of these people who's been involved for a really long time, and you're with it, you're into it. So what's the driver? Why do when you get up every morning, what's the passion button?
Sure. So I practiced law for I don't know 20 something years, and I was at a career crossroads about about 9 years ago. I was a strong advocate. I was in labor law. I was a labor attorney, and there's a space for advocacy, and I believed in what I was doing, and I enjoyed it. But it was a bit of a serendipity. I was on a listserv for the LA County Bar Association. There was an announcement about a mediation training. I was really intrigued by that. I enjoyed my mediation class in law school. I did some research. I did my training with a former sister organization of Chris's, of the California Academy of Mediation Professionals. I did my training there, and immediately started volunteering and mediating in the courthouses that they covered, doing civil harassment and small claims and unlawful detainer. And so, and eventually I made my way to California Lawyers for the Arts, and yeah, I know, and to use your term, the woo-woo. It's been a calling. The sense of fulfillment is I don't know. It can't be discounted. That's what gets me up. I have a passion for this, and I enjoy it. Yes, conflict is challenging. We work with people who are in difficult situations, but yeah, the sense of fulfillment it's hard to beat.
I appreciate it. I've been both a litigator for a few years back when I got out of law school in 1987 in Milwaukee. And I remember sitting up in Green Bay, Wisconsin in the dead of winter with a whole bunch of lawyers in a conference room going through boxes of documents in asbestos cases. We represented the company in Quebec, Canada that mined the mineral that went into asbestos. So I was going through documents, and I said, this is just not for me. Aside from the winter in Green Bay, I love Green Bay, but so I'm a Wisconsin guy, a cheesehead, who decided to leave the law, if you will, and come back to it though later in life, because I'm having this whole other. It's been really cool. I was a lawyer as litigator, lawyer as policy advocate in Washington, D.C., and in a big way. But then now in my 60s, I get to be lawyer as peacemaker. I'm not practicing law. I do not have I'm not licensed in California, but that's okay because I'm doing something where I don't need to be. I'm not practicing law. I'm choosing to be a peacemaker, a conflict resolution consultant, and a mediator over time. And I'll probably spend most of my time with Chris's group for a while, learning and volunteering, and then I'll take it from there. But again, there's this sense of service, wanting to give back. And I've also, at this time that we're in, with the energetic swirl going on around us, from LA all the way outward, right, and inward, it just feels good to be working with connecting people, helping people reach understanding about things, facilitating things, helping to mediate, being a neutral, letting people experience the feeling of having things resolved. I mean, it's like, wow, what's that like? Inalate, you have been a mentor and friend of mine because I'm going to graduate from Strauss here at the end of May, and you've been somebody I've talked to about a lot of stuff because of we have common interests. And you grew up in Brazil, and I know you came here and you were a lawyer at a big company out in Virginia and did a bunch of real estate stuff. And then what happened?
Yes, thank you, Will. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and to just listen to the stories, Chris and Aaron. It's just fascinating. I respect all of you and have known you for a little while now, and it's wonderful to hear your stories. Yeah, so I do a lot of volunteering. You know, I volunteer with the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office Dispute Resolution Program, with the Community Police Unification, with the SoCal Family Mediation, who does dependency court mediation. I also volunteer with the Western Justice Center, who does peer mediation. It's interesting to know Chris started there. So
Yeah.
I love to volunteer because I see volunteering as an opportunity to create strategic alliances in this area. I started as an attorney more than 20 years ago, and I was a corporate trademark attorney for multinational corporations. I started in Brazil, and then the company I was working for there, Unilever, sent me to the US, where I did my first master's degree in intellectual property law. And then I started as a corporate lawyer here for an American company all around the world. So I was traveling, you know, everywhere. But even then, we didn't talk about mediation at the time. We talked about settlement. So all the litigation we were going through was like, okay, how can we settle? Can we have a settlement conversation? And I think that's where I started. You know, I've always been an advocate for settlement conversations because of cost, you know, time, the public relation implication of litigation. So I've always been an advocate for settlement. And then mediation became a thing. But for me, the way it happened was actually when I left the corporate world, I was sick, and I had a chronic condition that I lived with for 4 years. And my doctor actually prescribed, it was a doctor's prescription, to go study spiritual psychology to heal my body. And spiritual psychology was very much based on communication skills, how we communicate with ourselves, how we communicate with others. And there I helped a friend who went through breast cancer mediate her issue with an insurance company. And I became more familiar with the mediation world that was happening. And then that's where I learned about the Strauss Institute, and I started my LLM at the Strauss Institute then. But the idea for me is that mediation, what I learned in terms of spiritual psychology was a way of mediate myself, mediate the voices inside myself. And from there, I felt, well, if I can do that to myself, then I can support others, I can coach others, I can help others do that also. And so a lot of the work I've done, and I did work with camp as well. I was interested in the California Association of Mediation Professionals. I used to go to court also when I started at the Strauss to do mediation there, especially for civil harassment. So a lot that I have seen is that the outer conflicts that we have with others has a projection, has a reflection on the inner conflicts that we have inside ourselves. Different voices and traumas and things that we've gone through that we carry along with us, and then we project outside into the situations and the people in our lives. And so my interest has always been, how can I support others to resolve their conflicts outside and inside? And that's where I then created the Institute for Next Level Leadership, where we help. Our core mission, we say it's empower leaders from within, is to empower people from within, because we want to equip people with the tools to resolve their conflicts, to build better teams, better communities, better families, and to foster collaboration. You know, in the US alone, $359 billion annually is thrown out of the drain because of conflict and ineffective leadership. And I think conflict and ineffective leadership come hand to hand. So my intention, the Institute's intention, is to provide solutions to that, to create a better way of leading ourselves, leading others, resolving conflict, and create better communities, better families, create better us, you know, healthier us, so that the world can be healthier as a result.
Exactly. And there is that. And and I'll interrupt you briefly, Emily, because I appreciate this. I'm going to ask you some more questions. But one of the reasons we connected here, and I know everybody here is on the same page, but there's a spiritual connection with us. For some, it's religious. For some, I call it spiritual, but it doesn't matter. But it's just that we are, you know, I believe very strongly that, you know, my job is to be on the frequency of love, if you will, or the right emotions versus anger, fear, all those other things. The more we stay on that frequency and just fuel that frequency, the better my world is, my own world is, and the world around me is. And I realize in business, and when things get rough and tumble, we do have this tendency to, you know, we go at it. It's combative all the time, but it doesn't have to be. And this is where people can take a chill pill and step back a little bit and learn how to talk to each other. That's another nice thing about mediation, is it allows people to sit down and have a conversation. And they may be polar opposites. I've been in those where they look at each other like, but all of a sudden, there's always some connection there that brings people down to sort of the level of, like, you know, we're all just, I use the expression space and grace more than ever before right now. Everybody needs space and grace. And that kind of levels it all. And humor doesn't hurt either. And then hopefully people are open to experiencing what it's like to have a conflict resolved. I've been in litigation as a plaintiff. I'll never do it again because it went on. It's not against trial lawyers or litigation. It's a very important part of our system. But it was just went on and on. I never had a resolution, actually. It never felt good. It was always on my mind. Frustrated me. So there are ways to do this. Anyway, I think that I will say this: you're one of my role models as a colleague and a friend, because you do, you know, you're a lifelong learner. Please don't get another degree, but I'm just kidding. But you know, you really are all in. I mean, you've experienced so many of this by volunteering, and I know you've done the 150 hours or so required for a certification or a certificate from. I wanted you to talk briefly. We're going to do it real quickly here about the LA City Attorney's Office Dispute Resolution Program. So I was an intern there as part of my training here at Pepperdine. The LA City Attorney's Office has a whole bunch, 1,500 lawyers, bunch of staff. It's huge. It's a massive city attorney's office. But within it is this tiny little program called the Dispute Resolution Program, which again offers free mediation conflict resolution services to residents of Los Angeles. Do you want to just quickly touch on that just for like a minute? And before you do, though, I want to tell, I'm sorry, I apologize. Before you do, can those that have questions, if you want to put them into the chat or wherever you're supposed to do that, I forget offhand here, feel free and we'll get to those shortly. And also I would like to ask maybe, Chris, if people want to connect with you somehow about your services, or either volunteering with you guys or availing themselves of the services, like how did they do that? Maybe you could put that, or Taisha could put it in the chat if we can't do it. Same with you, Aaron, just how to reach you, or or how to, and then you'll do the same in a way. Tell us real quick, about, I know you're building your own mediation practice, but then in addition to that, you've been doing this other work with the city.
The Los Angeles City Attorney's Office is a very mighty group. They are small in the sense that they're not overpopulated, but they're a mighty group because they work with a huge number of volunteers that come. They have a tremendous, well-structured and organized training program. I often deliver training there to the new mediators. They have a system of keeping the mediators evolving. So we meet every month to connect, to learn from one another, to enhance our skills, to sharpen and polish what we do. And they have a great number of cases, very similar to the California Lawyers of Arts. Those are cases that involve neighbor to neighbor, consumer and merchant. They involved landlord and tenant, HOA, elderly cases, sometimes roommates. We get a lot of roommate cases, sometimes boyfriend, girlfriend. I've had cases of boyfriend and girlfriend that got into a dispute because of something they owned together. So you get really a variety of cases. And I think the ability to promote a better community, promote a better city of Los Angeles, it's a wonderful thing because people come not expecting much. It's a free service, like, what are they going to provide? And they usually end up happily surprised by what they receive, because they receive a state-of-the-art service with mediators that are highly trained, that follow up, and that helps them resolve their conflicts so that they don't have to go into court. So I've seen great results, and it's been a tremendous honor and privilege to serve them, to serve the community. And I support everyone. If you have a conflict, utilize the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office Dispute Resolution Program. It's free. The mediators are great. And if you're interested in learning more about mediation, you may want to take the training that they offer.
Yeah, I did that. It's really good. Let's do this. Thank you, Inley. And we could go on and on with all of this. I realize there's about 35 people. I don't know how many of you, because we can't really see you. If you have questions, either if you are a mediator, fine, but particularly if you're a member of the community and have any questions, let's open it up right now for about 15 minutes, any kind of question, because you have some seasoned people here, and feel free to raise your, I guess, or put it in the chat. And we'll just kind of keep on talking here as I'm going to monitor this a little bit. And I don't know, Taisha, I'm just hoping you can hear me. Is there a way that, I don't know if these people are like Chris and Aaron had posted their info, is that going out to the whole group? I hope it is, as opposed to just the host. Yes, great. Thank you. I love this. Wonderful. All right. And I do want to take a moment while I'm thinking of it, because it's not a question, it's a factual statement. Taisha, thank you so much. Taisha Preston, and also Bouvier Eulin, both are staff people involved full-time with the Southern California Mediation Association, which is putting this thing on. And what we are is a member organization, mostly of mediators and people who like to deal with conflict resolution, some attorneys, some non-attorneys, doesn't matter. We all care about mediation. And we all work together to support essentially our profession and to help each other grow, because this is a practice like anything else, practice of medicine, practice of law, practice of mediation. None of us are experts. We all learn from each other. And they do a great job, and that's the kind of service that we're providing here today. We'll get more people next year. We just keep making this thing grow. Any questions, though? I'm sorry, I did want to, I'm sorry, this is where my brain starts to go at this point with the amount of time left. Taisha, I want to thank you because you spent a lot of time on this. There's 5 of these webinars this week at noon, and there's a lot of back end stuff that's required to market it and put it all together. And you have other events going on. So we really appreciate just the really great professional work and your time and your energy, because this wouldn't be happening without you, frankly, and Bouvier.
It's my
So
pleasure.
thank you. And also Michael Cantrell, I need to say, the chairman of our committee, who's a colleague of mine. I was on this outreach committee because I thought it'd be fun to educate people about what we do. Any questions?
There is a
I'm not,
question on the chat. Well, I don't know if you've
go ahead. Yep, I see it now. Go ahead. Oh yeah, let's do this real quick. And Gail, I appreciate it. It's a good question. The question is, and actually this is a good time to bring this up. We'll do it. It's a complex subject, but we'll bring it up briefly. Assembly Bill 940, which is law, went into effect, and I'm going to flip it over to Chris real quick. What that does basically is requires kind of a change. We've been a so-called unregulated profession, if you will, in certain ways, but the state bar of California is now going to require some sort of a certification process. And even though all of us lawyers and non-lawyers get certified in various ways to become a mediator, but Chris, you've been appointed as of January to this certification development committee within the State Bar of California. Do you want to comment briefly on where that stands and what that law could do for mediation, if you can?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, there's certain pieces that we have. There's some Brown Act of dynamics that I'm getting used to of talking to individuals and understanding the capacity for which we're dealing with this at a much larger level, right, within the state. Right now, it is still a voluntary process, right? It's still a voluntary certification. It's currently not mandatory. So it's even within the scope of how we're working through these dynamics for the mediator, for the organizations, for the arbitrators, there's a lot of pieces that need to be worked through in order to come up with, the different standards by which we are going to, have certification as either a baseline or other options. There's a lot going on in that space. And I just encourage those that when there are public forums or there's other ways to communicate, to send in actual concerns or comments or to the groups, so that those can be a part of the narrative that comes into the decision-making process as we go through. So I know that I'm not being very direct on it right now. It's a little bit early still in the process.
I understand.
But it is one that there's some engagement that happens when it comes to some of the different meetings, the public space meetings of public comment or communication from mediators to answer some of those in more of a general format. It's just because we're under these different standards now of communication, I need to get my own individual kind of what are we talking about right now to make sure that I can have a public statement to know exactly in the realm we are. And I think that'll be developed even further here in the next month or so for us to have, okay, what are the things that we really need to hone down and communicate on?
Yeah, it's helpful because, this is for everybody's benefit, whether you're a mediator or not, whoever's on here. I mean, the legislature passed a bill that was signed by the governor, so it's a law to really do some, take a look at mediation. If you're a lawyer, you become a member of you have to become licensed and you're regulated by the State Bar of California. I'm a lawyer, but I don't practice here and I can't because I'm not a member of the bar. I could if I wanted to pass the bar exam, but that ain't happening, at least at this stage in my life. But it's important. And then the question was, what about mediators? And within our profession, there is tension sometimes between lawyers and non-lawyer mediators. That shows up. I experience it all the time. Here at Pepperdine Law School, we offer a Master of Laws degree for lawyers in dispute resolution. It's one of the top programs in the country and has been for a long time. But we also have the Masters in Dispute Resolution, very almost identical program, basically. A master's in dispute resolution for non-lawyers. That's what Chris graduated. And I think it's great that you're on that committee for the state bar as a non-lawyer, highly seasoned, 21-year veteran in this field. So I think we're all just trying to figure out how that's going to play out. And it's good in some ways. There's nothing wrong with the mediation world. It's just that I think it's to provide some common standards and what have you. But it's tricky, right? It's a big bureaucracy. It's kind of like, you know, a law is passed and then the regulations have to be drafted. It's going to be a while. And I hope, Chris, that we can, maybe even you'll be able to, we could do something through SCMA at some point where you could, you know, speak to what's going
Absolutely.
on.
And
So it's
that
a,
should be the plan there, is to have some communications to say which way
Yeah.
the path is going, and be even more honed in on where the, you know, where the vision is heading for the development on a mediation side, from a program side, from arbitrate, you know, just as we get going, so that there can be some general you know, input. And so I need to, you know, that's a part of this larger connection of both the input happening now and also the communication of how that goes out. So yeah, just
how
thanks
many
for bearing with
people,
me on that.
no, I get it, because you were just appointed in January. There's been a few things happening in the world since the start of the new year. I mean, it's like, so I'm, you know, obviously people are, how many people are on that committee? And is it a large group that's trying to develop these standards, or?
I think there's like 21 to 25. I would have to go look at that number
Got it.
exactly again, but I think it's in
Got it.
that range of just kind of part of the larger committee, and then there's some subcommittees and other things.
Got it. So it's going to take a
Yeah.
while. Got it. But good question. Any other questions from people? Again, we don't know who's on here necessarily. Go ahead, Italy, please.
Let me just add something else. Well, first I want to thank Gail Glazer for the question that she posed. The Assembly Bill 940, I think it's a beautiful progression. Like 20 years ago, when I was an attorney, a corporate attorney, we were doing settlement conversations, and we didn't even talk about mediation at that time. We are right now in the middle of Mediation Awareness Week. So the increase of awareness in the past 20 years has been tremendous. And now to have an assembly bill that talks specifically about mandatory or mandated mediation resources and access, and training for mediators, I think that is wonderful. Next week, I'm traveling to DC, as you know, as part of the Federal Bar Association, to work with, to talk with senators and representatives of the House of Representatives to lobby for legislation and matters of interest to lawyers and judges all over the nation. And I hope that one day mediation will also be part of the topics that we will be bringing to the Senate and to the House of Representatives, to have federal laws that tackle this kind of procedure. So what I see here is a beautiful progression in terms of awareness and a different way of dealing with conflicts, where before we would go right into the court, now we have alternative modes of resolution, and this bill is an evidence of that, and I'm very grateful for it.
It's great. Just as a quick aside, I had a little issue with my HOA where I live in Santa Monica. I won't get into the details, not a big deal, but I reached out to a law firm that specializes in HOA stuff. And, you know, in fact, the lawyer was an alumnus of Pepperdine, and said, you know, can I sue? I wasn't really going to do it, but I was just like, what my options were. He was great. He said, look, Will, finish your degree at Pepperdine. Let this go. You know, I mean, it was nice to be talked off a ledge by another lawyer about a lawsuit. And I know, like, one of the areas I intend to get more involved in is HOA related conflict resolution and mediation, because it's all over the place. Obviously, I like neighbor to neighbor stuff because I find it fun. But I think any other questions? I think we were not sure what kind of questions we get today, but we have a couple more minutes for them. And if there aren't, we can kind of wrap up here, because it is the lunch hour and I know people are busy. So I'll just leave it for a minute here. And then if not, we'll wrap up in a couple minutes, because this is just supposed to go till 1 o'clock. Last year, I did a law enforcement panel for the same week. We had a lot of questions on that one. Just depends. At the moment, I don't see any others. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap up here with just, you know, if you would like to, just each of you briefly, putting in the context of what's going on in the world right now, just broadly, right? We know we've got wars going on, just major things happening, lots of disruptions. I actually think it's healthy, because it means we're evolving in some way or another. The spiral of evolution, sometimes it's dark, sometimes it's light, but in theory, we're all hopefully moving in the right direction, and it makes people at least think and talk, I hope. So I'm just curious, what's your positive message, I guess, when it comes to mediation for this group before we wrap up? Chris, do you have one?
No, I mean, I think that with mediation lies hope and the ability to repair, right? And I think that
I
you
like that.
have, within those contexts, that if it's still within your power, your ability to be in that space where you can, effectively try to get parties to reach conclusions that are either on their own or with their will, or with, in places that they can come to that, even if they're tough, even if they're difficult. But if you have the ability for hope and the potential for repair, that you can move and continue to move society and the other pieces along, and that disputes are never going to leave us as a culture. You're right. They will never leave us. The most AI you want to put in the world, or whatever it is, the disputes will never leave us. It's just a matter of how we fundamentally, internally, as ourselves, as mediators, as individuals that are in the space, as those that are in conflict, are able to create moments of creating the space for that possibility of hope and repair, if it's there, right? And so I don't know.
I like that a lot. I think it's really helpful. Aaron, do you have something? I just want to wrap this up on a hopeful, as people go about their day. Anything that you want to share with all of your wisdom and experience?
Well, I see conflict as an opportunity for growth, and to go on what Inali said earlier about that growth, as individuals, but as in our relationships and as a community. I look at what we do is kind of like the stone in the water and the ripples on the surface, and that if we can address our individual conflicts, if we our relationships change, if we can transform ourselves, and the conflicts that, under the conflicts that we have, that we're able to transform our communication and relationships, with everyone. That if you're conflict with a neighbor, with the business, right? If you get that resolved, you are in a way transformed, or even if you're transcendent from the experience, that'll impact your relationships with others and interactions with others, and it will go out into the world, and I mean, I know, again, it's woo-woo, but it's making the world a better place.
Yeah,
it's a
but it's
better
not
place
woo-woo, right?
by what mediation is, what it offers, and we're hoping that more people become mediators, and that we can really, in fact, change the world. It's a challenging time, but well, it's the job of a mediator to be hopeful. You can't be pessimistic.
I agree with that.
You can't be pessimistic. You can't. We have to be hopeful, and work towards positive change.
I agree. And people say, what can I do? Well, what you can do is start with your own life and your own house, if you will, your own kind of interlace what you're talking about. And I'm with you on this, which is the inside job part of all this. We get to make a choice. I'm choosing to be on a certain energetic frequency, and I know when I'm on it, I feel it. I can tell when I'm on it, and I get connected to good people, and it just kind of makes my day better. It's not perfect. There's still conflict, but it's definitely doing something, and it has ripple effects. What's your positive message? And we'll wrap up here.
Yeah, I want to concur with Chris. Yes, hope and healing, and with Aaron in terms of this inside out job. But I also want to say, I grew up in Brazil during the military dictatorship. There's a wonderful movie, I'm Still Here, that won the Oscar for international movie, that talks about that period of history from Brazil. And there is a tremendous tension when you are under authoritative leadership that resolves conflict by killing those that disagree with you. And so, yes, we are in a challenging times now, but we are so blessed. We are so blessed that we have alternative dispute resolutions, that we have professionals that are in this field. We are learning to communicate. We are learning to agree to disagree with those
Right.
that see things differently than us. We are doing the inner work to resolve our own competing voices inside of us. And I dare to say that if each one of us were able to resolve our inner conflicts, we would have no outer conflicts to resolve. And so we are in a blessed period of individual and collective healing. And chaos is predecessor of creation. So the chaos that we see in this time is creating an opportunity for all of us individually and collectively to be better than we have ever been ever before, because we are creating new ways of relating to one another. We are creating new interpersonal dynamics that does not involve killing those that look different than us or think differently than us or does things differently than us. So we are learning diversity. We are learning to appreciate what diversity means and how can we all gain and grow, because together we are better. And this is, I think, the greatest learning of our times.
I appreciate that. And my angle on this is that I worked for AOL back in the 90s. It was America Online. We had 300 employees. When I left, we had 16,000. I was on the front lines of every major public policy issue and legal issue in the beginning affecting the internet, including the Communications Decency Act, which is this famous Section 230, which gives internet companies liability protection. We had no idea. We were making it up as we went along. But at that time, we got a Supreme Court victory, a unanimous decision that the internet deserves the highest degree of First Amendment protection, much like magazines, newspapers, what have you. We're in a battle right now in a lot of ways for media, for free speech, for all kinds of things. And the idea was more speech is better than less speech. If you don't like what you're hearing, then put something else up. But little did I know back in 1995 that we would be in the world we're in today with social media the way it is, the way kids are dealing with each other or not dealing with each other, the stuff that happened with COVID. And just, we know we're in a kind of a really troubled society, not just here, it's happening all throughout the world. But that's why like things like the Western Justice Center and our kids managing conflict with SCMA, which is working with young people on becoming conflict resolvers, peacemakers, is phenomenal. And what we're doing is phenomenal. I think this is one of the most exciting times. I know people are going to maybe not agree with this in our country, because we're having a debate, and we're going to have to, at some pretty fundamental levels, about the role of the courts and the judiciary and the legislature and the executive branch, and what role citizens play in all of that. And I'm actually really hopeful. I really am. And I think part of this is what we do here. It's this process of helping people experience what it feels like to resolve things, to not have, you can have conflict, but to resolve it in a way that's positive, to talk to each other, to have differences, as Inouye said, to agree to disagree, and to do it in a way that's not disagreeable. I think the issue of our time, especially in this country, is and will be how we treat each other. How we treat each other, whether it's at work, anywhere, at home, is how we treat each other. There are certain ways to do that. You can still have disagreements about things. And so I think that this profession kind of is helpful with that. I would normally take a moment. I think I will. We've got 1 minute here. I'm going to do this. I did this last year. You can jump off if you want to, if you have things to do, but we're going to just take a moment of 1 minute to experience peace, because it's helpful collectively for 30 people to just have a moment of peace before you go about your busy lives with all your incoming digital stuff and everything on the news. I mean, it's just crazy. Who knows what's happened in the last 45 to 50 minutes, but we really appreciate you being on here. Bouvier and Taisha, appreciate you. Chris, Aaron, and Inouye, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy days, professionally and personally, to do this. All of you who were on here today, thanks for taking time out, whether you're an SCMA member or not, everyday community member. Hopefully you got something out of this. I want to just do a 1 minute, not a moment of silence. I don't like how that sounds, but a moment of peace. What does it feel like collectively for 1 minute in this crazy world we're in here in Southern California to experience peace together. That's what we're going to do. And then we'll wrap up. And I appreciate you all again for being here. Here we go. 1 minute when I don't talk. I want to thank you all. It's amazing how long a minute seems sometimes, but I just want to thank you all for being here today and being part of the peacemaker revolution, which has to happen. All right. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you, I hope, next year. There's also a webinar tomorrow if you want to join that. Thank you all. Take care.
Bye-bye.